flowers bloom in spring. Tell me who gives the air that you breathe. Ooh. Everything that you need he will provide, so you may as well come on and give him a try. 'Cause he's awesome. Ooh, he's awesome. He's awesome. What would I do without him? Couldn't even do without him. I won't be without him. He's awesome.
What's up, ladies? Welcome to ZMR Ministries. I'm Pastor Z, and it's Friday, so you know it's time for another episode of Girl Talk. Now, tonight's topic is stop. Don't look in the mirror. Well, we're going to be dealing with being realistic about our insecurities. And we know sometimes as ladies, we don't want to deal with our insecurities. We ignore them, we pretend like they are not there, and we have the notion of out of sight, out of mind. Well, we know that when we don't deal with our insecurities, it leads to a road of destruction. So on Fridays, y'all know how we do. We just dive right in. We're going to be talking about facing your insecurities and how to do it. You know, I got Bridget with me. I got Mia again and Simone on the end. Now, ladies, we all have struggled with insecurities and have overcome some of them, and some of them we still got, you know. How do y'all be realistic about your insecurities? When did you figure out that you were insecure or just had insecurities?
Well, I would say...
Mia like, why y'all look at me? Right? Y'all see these pearls? No, I'm just... Go ahead, Simone.
I would say I was the denial one.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
She was in denial.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was I knew they were there, but I was like, you know, if I don't think about it, they not really there. So just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, if you don't deal with it, it will catch up with you.
When did you figure out it was an insecurity, though?
Maybe a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, with everything that I went through, it really made me sit back and be like, why am I even going through this stuff? And it really made me take a look at some stuff and had to be real with myself. So, yeah.
Mia, Bridget?
I mean, I always knew I had an insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know, like even from a kid, I didn't know that's what it was called.
Right.
But I always knew I had an insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just knew that certain things that I just didn't feel good about.
Mm-hmm.
And so I dealt with it differently as a kid. As an adult, I deal with it obviously as an adult, you know, with an adult mind frame or what have you. But I think it's something that for me is always there, and it shapes how I think and how I approach certain things for myself.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? I love that you said you didn't know what it was called. And sometimes, you know, we see things, but we don't know how to identify it. And so we are going about our lives reacting, responding in certain ways, and we don't know the why. And we see things, but we don't know what that really is, and so we don't know what to call it. Therefore, we don't know how to deal with it. Bridget?
I say I've had them since I was a kid, you know, as well. When they call it insecurity, I was just self-conscious. You know, and that's what you're thinking, oh, I'm just self-conscious about it, I'm uncomfortable. No, it was insecurity. And again, those are still things that I'm still working on. It's a daily battle that I have with myself.
Yeah, I know with me, there are some things from childhood, but also some things I picked up along the way. You know, just from me and living life and getting in relationships and connecting with certain people. Sometimes insecurities are put on you, they're projected on you, and some of them you pick up yourself. And some of them you don't even have, or you didn't even realize was even there until somebody else pointed it out. Have y'all ever experienced where, you know how the Bible, when he was looking for Adam, and Adam was like, I hid myself because I was naked, and the Lord said, who told you was naked? And it's kind of like I want to ask y'all that question. Who said you were insecure? Did it come from someone else? Or did you say, you know what, I'm insecure? Because, you know, in different situations, you have conversations, you communicate with people, and then they start telling you, no, sis, you took that this way because you're insecure about A, B, and C. You know, your insecurities have nothing to do with me. You know, we've all had that conversation. Or just talking with your friend and you like, you know, you're really insecure about this. And sometimes you'll say, no, I'm not. And you're like, no, yes, you are. That's why you respond like this every time someone says that, or, you know what I mean? So is it something that you discovered on your own? or was it projected onto you?
I think I already knew it. You know, for me, there were things that I was already very much aware that I was insecure about.
Like what?
One, I would say.
If you don't mind sharing, I'm sorry.
I've shared it before. My weight, you know, was one major issue where I wasn't secure in my own body.
But I know Bridget's story with that because and she talks about it, which is why I'm disclosing it. So you know, don't think I'm just throwing her out there or you, Simone. But I know, no, I'm just saying because it's dealing with y'all's
We
mom.
come from the same family.
Yeah. And so I know Bridget talks about how her mom, you know, didn't really build their esteem, and they grew up thinking, man, we're so much bigger. And so I've been knowing them since high school, and they come from a family of thick girls, and I ain't talking about thick like fat. I'm talking about like they got rebuilt. They stallions, you know what I'm saying? And so when I think of them saying, man, I was fat in high school, I'm like, ooh, you was fine. Like they were like.
But our mom told us we was fat.
Right.
And she would tell us, well, you didn't look like the other girls.
Right.
They were some white girls.
Right. No disrespect.
Yeah,
you know?
but our body structure is different.
Yeah, the
from
structure
theirs.
is different.
Right.
So she said, you know, well.
And so, you know, of course, realistically, if I put you next to a petite, you know, white chick who's up and down in front and back, and here you are, you know, you're thin. They didn't have no bellies. They really were a Coke bottle shape in high school and still are. But I'm just saying, you know, did that come from that being projected onto you? You know, that insecurity.
That was something because as a child you don't know that.
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm
I
saying.
think a lot of the insecurities that you get are from something that has been projected onto you, and it starts from childhood.
Yeah,
that's there, and you may not realize it because to you that's normal. But I know it doesn't make me feel good, you know, and it's a feeling where I'm like, okay, this doesn't feel good. It doesn't make me feel good, you know, when you're there, but you don't really realize how you're carrying that along with you the rest of your life, and now it creates other doors for other insecurities to come in. Because I can say even for myself, from the insecurity of not having much of a self-esteem caused me to settle in other parts of my life because I felt like this was the best I could do, you know, because I was like, well, girl, you know, you don't look all that good.
Or at least he accepts me.
Right.
You know.
And sometimes it's not even at least he accepts me. It was really a point where it was just like, well, it's the best you can do, so you just deal with it. You know, when you sit there, because the picture that I saw of myself was really not me.
Right.
So it goes back to me saying, when you look in the mirror, well, when I'm looking in the mirror, I'm not even seeing the reality of what's in the mirror. Because it's a portrait of something that was painted that in my mind, I'm basing it off of things that I've heard, and now I've misconstrued it in my head and made it my reality.
Yeah, I think when I actually went back and looked at my high school pictures, and I had started crying because I was like, oh, I was cute. And I didn't realize that in high school. And I called my mom and I was like, you get on my nerves.
We're gonna tell your mom about this episode and all. So, you know, she looks at me and she can't watch this. I think the past couple of episodes, Simone.
But I'm just saying, that's what it really made me feel like. It really made me want to get into a attack mode with her, because I was like, this is what you made me feel like this whole time?
Right.
So.
And you know what's interesting? I remember, because we all used to be roommates, right? And I remember us having this talk in the living room. And I was just like, I was listening to what they were saying. I was like, what y'all talking about? I don't remember that, Bridget and Simone. First of all, I was like, y'all, what are you talking about? We used to talk about how fine y'all was. Who?
Had no idea.
I was like, are you serious right now? Like, I was like, sis fine right there. And they didn't see that. And so when I think about sorry. When I think about the topic, stop, don't look in the mirror, you know, it's like, you tell yourself that because you don't want to see what's being perceived
In your head.
And it's like, you know, you're not being realistic about your insecurities, which it should have never been an insecurity. And I'm not just saying that because they my friends. I'm telling you, you know, you check these people that went to high school with us, they gonna tell you, no, they was brick built. You know, I mean, I wasn't. Mia, look, I'm not dealing with these broadneck sisters today. Y'all, this girl talk, it's starting a little juicy. Don't you dare call your mama no red face dog. Don't you dare.
That's a term of endearment.
It's Creole. Oh my God. Don't y'all that's watching, don't you tell your mama after this episode you
Don't do that.
We are not responsible for any injuries that occur.
Nah, don't tell my mama. She really a good lady.
She's a very good lady.
I don't want y'all, you know she is. I'm punching somebody in their face.
But that's real.
But we can just,
Oh,
that's
funny.
just how I felt.
That's
in
raw.
that
That's raw emotion, though.
moment. I said that's just how I felt in that moment. You know, and I looked at that picture. That's what I was thinking. Like,
Right.
really?
Mm-hmm.
All these years, is what you telling me? But really?
Yeah. Mia?
I mean, okay. As far as whether or not somebody projected insecurity onto me or whether I knew I had it or whatever, like Bridget said, mine started as a kid, and so I don't necessarily, I can't remember if it was like, you know, I did it or they did. I can't really remember. I just know it's always been there.
Right.
And kids are cruel. They
Very
they
cruel.
job,
Yeah.
what really, I don't know if it helped or hurt me as an adult, but what helped me with my mouth, like quick comeback, is the fact that, you know, kids don't talk about you. Kids tease you, they bully. So, you know, whereas back then, I couldn't respond quick. I didn't know what to say when someone teased me or said something about me or whatever the case may be. Now, I'm like, oh, that's it? Oh, okay, boom. And I'll let up till you crying. And so that's kind of where it came from. But I think, you know, when it comes to people putting their insecurity onto a person, like as a kid, I had adults say stuff to me. Like my dad's mom, I guess that would make her my grandma, right? We ain't really had a best, you know, relationship or whatever like that, like maternal grandma. And she would say, whenever, because my mom was the type of mom, no matter what, she never said nothing bad about my dad or his side of the family, nothing. She would take us over there just to, you know, be like, hey, see your grandma when we come on out. So every time I walked in the door, she would be like, oh, Mia, you sure is getting fat. You know, she would say stuff like that, you know, and that type of thing, it shapes how you see yourself and how you know, it just frames what you do now. And so I didn't really realize just how much, like I knew I had the insecurity, but I didn't know other people knew I had the insecurity until I lost like a whole lot of weight and I was still wearing the same clothes or still going shopping in the same store and still oversizing my clothes and that type of thing. And my friends would be like, you know, you ain't gotta shop like that no more, right? Yeah. You know you can go down a few sizes, right? You know your clothes is real baggy. And I'm like, no, it's not. You know, no, it's not that big. I'm good. So it's just really, you know, it shapes how I think. To this day, I don't dress in front of people. I do not dress in front of people. I go in the bathroom, go in the bedroom. You know, that's just what I do. If I'm in a wedding, I was at one of my homegirls' wedding, and you know, everybody is getting dressed together. That's what happens when a bride is getting married. You get, you know. And me, I was like, I'll be back, y'all. Took my little self down the hall to a bathroom and came back fully dressed. And they was like, what? What? That's how I've dealt with mine.
I know with me, like I said, there are some insecurities that I brought on myself. You know how you go through a phase of comparison. You're looking around, you know, before you really come into your own self and accept everything about you. There were some insecurities that were put on me as a kid. That were projected. That out of things that were said. You know, I remember because I'm chocolate. I mean, clearly, and but I come from my mom and my grandmother. They're fair skinned, and so when I was growing up, of course they would say, "Oh, you pretty to be dark." Oh, or you pretty, but why you ain't like your mama? Oh, if you would have took your mama color. And I remember, you know, feeling really insecure back then. And then my mama, bless her heart, she didn't know no better. You know, she started buying me Ambi. You could lighten your skin. So, you know, that became a habit. I started putting Ambi on my face when I was like 7, 8. And I was, you know, now I think about that, I'm like, what is wrong with you? But I ain't gonna call her no rat face dog. Nah, Peaches. But no, and so, then of course, people call me Blackie and things like that. Now that I'm grown and I look back on pictures and I'm like, y'all was all darker than me. I'm like, I'm chocolate, but I wasn't tart like, you guys tried to make me feel. But I remember one of my uncles, he saw me crying. And he was like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, they calling me Blackie, and they're saying I'm black, and I'm a tar baby, and all of these things. And he was just like, the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. And I was like, what does that mean? And you know what's funny? I'm 38 and I'm still like, what does that mean? And I was like, okay. So, of course, I go back outside and they said it again. I was like, the blacker the berry, the sweeter juice. And they were just like, what? Okay.
Everybody's confused.
Right. And so I think it stopped it just because out of confusion. It wasn't that they didn't think I was dark no more. But I remember him talking to me. He said, you're beautiful, you're this, you're that. And he said, watch, when you get older, they're not gonna all go for the light-skinned chick. Mm-hmm. And you grow up now, looking at light-skinned girls like, you ain't even that cute. You light don't mean pretty. No disregard, Bridget.
I'm not light-skinned.
Okay. All right. It's like that's a cultural thing as well. Yeah, and so it's like some insecurities you get at home, some you get, like you said, amongst kids, because kids can be cruel. Some you get, in your environment. And some you could just get culturally, because you're looking at video chicks. You're looking at, the reality shows. I'm not going to say anybody's names now because I'm trying to be respectful, but I'm sick of it. But you look at, these different body shapes, or the way they do their makeup regimes, or how they enhance themselves, and then you take on those insecurities, right? Or even in relationships, you start comparing yourself to exes. Like, oh, that was their ex. Like, every guy that I've dated was like, you're the first dark-skinned girl I've ever dated. And I was like, really? And they would say, man, you really cute to be dark. I was like, here we go again. Right, you know what I'm saying? And I remember I was so pissed. I was like, that is so ignorant. Why isn't it just Zanya, you're pretty? Because I'm just pretty. It's not, is all dark skinned girls ugly? Or even like, I'm a Zeta. Hey, Zeta Phi Beta, hey, whatever. I'm gonna shout out my sorority, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Okay, Deuce Club, hey, how y'all doing? But listen, I get this a lot too, which it really kind of grinds my gears when people find out I'm a Zeta. They like, you a Zeta? I'm like, are Zetas ugly? Like, is that what you're saying? And so it's irritating, because it's like that was an insecurity that I didn't take on for myself. I didn't realize, okay, I'm dark in color until people started telling me, why you ain't your mama complexion? And now I'm looking at my mom and even my cousins, because they all took after our family, which, my grandmother is Indian. So it's like, all my cousins, they bite your color or lighter. And so here I am, always the chocolate one. So I start feeling, a little insecure about that. And so that's what I mean by, you can take on these things that are projected on you that you don't even realize this is an insecurity. And so you'll find yourself stopping before you get to the mirror and not looking. And so before we even started, Mia was like, people don't look in the mirror. What do you mean stop? Don't look in the mirror. I mean, I got insecurities, but I still look. But I know a lot of people, especially who are overweight. I remember I told Bridget one time when I had gained some weight and I got out the shower and I was like, I didn't even want to look at myself. I just let the mirror stay foggy because I was like, I can't believe you done got this back row. And then, I was having a moment. I guess I was hormonal. Y'all know how it is, ladies. And then the next day I got out the shower. I unfolded. I was like, well, this is who it is, baby. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, sometimes that mirror tells the truth. Yeah. And the truth hurts. So have y'all ever had a moment where you didn't want to face your insecurities and it's like you had to?
Yeah.
She's like, yeah.
Yes. I would actually say it was the weight issue just recently. Like, from, you know, me having Austin, and we talked about before me having a postpartum and everything, having depression, taking the depression pills, you know, just really being depressed. I had gained so much weight. And this is the crazy part, I didn't even realize how big I got.
Right.
I still thought I was the same me. Even though, hey, I'm having to get bigger clothes,
Right.
I was still like...
Right, let me tell you what's funny. So I'm clearly the funny friend, right? And Simone and I had this conversation one day. She was like, I really didn't think I had gotten that big. I didn't see it. I was like, how? How you see that?
She not. I didn't get myself.
Right.
I was just going through the motions. And it actually somebody took a picture of me. I think it was me and my cousin.
It's always a picture.
We went out to eat. And she took the picture and she posted it on Facebook. And I saw it. I said, God, oh. And I was like, wait, Simone.
Don't worry, he's a ministry channel.
But I had to text him and was like, oh, take that picture down.
Right.
That is not me. And it made me look and I was like, I was like, I ain't got that big. I went to the room, showed it Chris. Why you tell me I got this big?
Right.
No, I was just like, ugh. So I said, you know, that's still something that I deal with because I'm just like, yeah, this is not my body. I need to go work it out. And it's just like, at first I was like, I didn't look in the mirror because I was like, I know I'm trying all this weight.
Right.
But now, like I said, I got to this, I'm old, I don't care. This way to come off when it come off. I ain't about to go stress myself out over it.
I hear about not stressing yourself.
Yeah.
But you want to be healthy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I can still run and do all this stuff. You know, just don't work on it.
What you running for?
Get your cardio up.
Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. Mia?
Okay, so it's in terms of like whether or not I've ever been faced with looking at my insecurities and not wanting to, I think that I've always looked at them. It's never been a moment where I didn't like notice or know that that was an insecurity. I've never been in denial about my insecurity.
Right.
Now, what I have done is, you know, it's probably been a little too much that I looked at it. Because no matter how much weight I lost, I was still the same size. So, you know, I didn't adjust. My mentality, you know, didn't adjust. And so I don't think I've ever had to, you know, be faced with the type of hardcore truth where I didn't want to accept it. I was very accepting, you know, very accepting of it. And then of course I always got the whole, oh, you pretty for a big girl type thing, you know, which is,
see, y'all gotta stop saying it. Just stop it, you pretty.
Just you pretty, you know, whatever. So I've always gotten that or whatever, but I've also always looked at myself the same way, no matter what. And so in terms of looking in the mirror though, I ain't never just looked at myself and been like, I'm just disgusted. Like I'm just disgusted. I've never done that. You know, I may have not been pleased or what have you, but I've definitely not just been disgusted or whatever. And now at my age, I just be like, it just kind of is what it is.
It comes with it.
You know, you gonna take it or leave it.
It's a package deal.
Yeah, me and everything that comes with it. You
Right.
know, and so if I lose weight, great. If I don't, great. But you know, whatever. I've never just been afraid to look in the mirror because I mean, don't get it twisted. I knew I still was cute, you know. But
Well,
I was always cute.
tell the truth.
That was never
Tell the
an
truth
issue.
and shame the
I
devil.
was always cute.
Okay.
Now I may have been overweight, but I was always cute and cute enough where people were insecure about me being around. So,
Okay.
I mean, because it is some ugly skinny girls now.
what she said.
Yes.
We're not calling anybody ugly.
We're not. I'm just saying, your size doesn't make
That-
you.
yeah,
This is
don't
true.
make-
Yeah.
This is true.
Because you can be skinny.
There's some people in the size too and they busted. They just really are.
Yeah. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay. Bridget?
Yeah, I guess having to look at my insecurities, I've had to, as I've matured, and that's just because it's carried over into my personal life. You know, certain things to where I'm not fully able to function holy, I guess you can say. And as well as it was another one when I was younger, because I am emotional, but I've gotten much better.
Ooh, Lord.
I was
The crybaby of the family.
and see, that was the thing. She the crybaby, so they used to pick on me, all the time and be like, well, we gonna say this or we gonna say that,
Surely ain't Mom didn't do that.
She was the so it was like 5 girls, all our cousins. We pretty much all
we grew up together.
She was the youngest, but she would cry about it. I mean, if you looked at her, you hurt my feelings. So it was so easy to pick at her and make her cry.
See, so it was so easy to do. So that was something that I had to get over. You know what I'm saying? And just be like, well, everything you ain't got to cry about. Everything.
It's true.
That was there. So that was something that I had I had to learn in regards to it. And again, you have to go back to why do you cry so much? Or why do you feel you need to cry in this situation? And sometimes too, you even have to look at it, you're wired differently. I am wired differently, and my response is different to somebody else's. But too, those were areas where I needed to be stronger. And how I'm built too, I'm just more sensitive to a lot of things, and I have more patience than some of my counterparts. So
Y'all family.
I always tell people, because everybody think we look alike. I don't know where they came from.
I don't either.
But I tell them, me and her, we like 9. We 2 different people.
Totally.
Two different. But we love each
Totality.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a good thing. But for me, again, like it was the way is like knowing how to get stronger in self, and everything else. That's just things that I felt like I needed to address if I was going to be able to progress and move on in life and get over, that excess baggage that I was carrying.
Yeah, and you know what? I know for me, because I brought up my skin tone, I didn't fight with that as an adult. By the time I got grown, really a teen, really when my uncle told me that, it was done. I was like, I'm not putting Ambi on my face. No, even as a kid, I was like, I'm not putting any more Ambi on my face. This is stupid. It's not working anyway. Like, I remember I had to start putting it on my hand because I was like, maybe it's just not my face. Maybe it's just my hand. So I started putting it on my hand. I was like, okay, this is not working. This is dumb. And so by the time, I got a teenager grown, it was like I embraced my darker skin tone. I was like, this is who I am. And had no desire, to be any lighter or anything of that nature. But, like I said, along the way, I started getting insecure about other things. And so, as a kid, I was always pretty. I had long wavy hair, and we dressed nice. And so it was like, I was always a pretty girl in the room. And then when I got like in 5th grade, I started getting fat. So now it was like, I didn't feel like the pretty little girl in the room no more, because then it turned to, Zion, you should always get fat. Ooh, my girl, why you think she gaining so much weight? Oh, you just look at Jabba Jones over there. And what started happening was people would constantly say something. Oh, Zion, you used to be such a pretty little girl. So I'm like, am I not pretty anymore because I don't got fat? And then I started looking at my cousins and, my friends, and they didn't go through that phase where they gained weight. So, whenever we started developing and stuff like that, I looked different. It was like, okay, they would say, Sonya, she getting some breasts. Well, that's fat. And I was like, so am I not developing? Are these breasts, or is it just because I'm fat? So then I started thinking, okay, if I lose weight, then I can start growing real breasts. I mean, it's just stupid stuff as a kid that you're thinking about that went into like high school. And so, like you guys said, that people can be cruel, or kids can be cruel, and they don't mean, but some of them mean to be. And so it's like, it comes with the territory, right? And so it started out me losing weight. I remember my sophomore year, I came back to school, and Mimi's old best friend, which you know her, she dated Chris' friend. I'm not gonna say her name, but you know who I'm talking about. And so I remember she was walking with my sister down the hall. It was the first day of school, and I had lost all this weight, y'all. Like over the summer, I was starving myself. I was working out all the time, and I had gotten down from like a 16 to the point that when I went back to school, I was a 7'8". And so I remember us walking down the hall, and she was just like, "Oh, how you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, she's trying to be funny, you know." But she really didn't know who I was. She didn't recognize me. And when she recognized me, she was like, "Oh my God, Simone, you lost so much weight." And so, of course, you know, now you're embracing this new security, this new confidence. And what started happening was it was guys that I actually liked, you know, in 9th grade. That when I lost weight, you know, now they're being extra friendly. And so it turned into, no, you know, last year I'm the same girl, I'm skinnier. And I remember some people saying, Zion, you can't be like that, you know, they didn't want a fat girl. I was like, no, it's not about that. It's about you either gonna like me for me, whether I come in a big package or a small package, or you're not gonna like me at all. And so I started losing weight as a way of shutting people up, because I was like, I'm insecure about that. And then it turned into, okay, I don't want to lose weight to make everybody else happy so they'll accept me. This is the way I want to look. But that's why it's important, you know, to be careful of what you say, because you never know where people are. And I remember I got in this gym class, right? And I was trying to work on toning. And I remember this girl looked at me, and she fat now. I'm just saying. I ain't trying to be funny. But she was like, she tried to be funny. She tried it. And I'm sitting there doing leg exercises, trying to tone up. And she was like, yeah, your legs jiggle. And I looked, wait a minute. And I looked at her, and I remember feeling so bad. Like, man, I've worked so hard to get this weight off of me. I'm in this class trying to tone up so I can be better about myself. Then the insecurity started all over again. That confidence that I had gained was now dwindling because of what somebody said. And so I'm not gonna lie, when I got grown, and you know, people on Facebook, and I saw them on Facebook, they actually, you know, commented on one of my things one time, like, oh my God, it's been so long. I was like, yeah, you fat. I didn't tell her that, but that's what I was thinking in my head. Mind you, this was my early 20s. I was like 20 or 21, but I felt that way because I remember, it's like what Maya Angelou said, you may not remember what they said, but you'll remember how they made you feel. And that's so true. It doesn't matter how old you get, when you run into these people, that's what's going to pop up in your head. Like, you don't know how I fought to get my confidence, you know, in that area. And so it's like people can recreate insecurities for you that you've gotten older. What are some insecurities that y'all had that you overcame, and then other people reintroduce you to that insecurity?
Like I said, one of the main ones was the weight issue. You know, so it's been a roller coaster for me with weight. You know, again, it was like, oh, I saw myself in a picture, and it was like, who is that? You know, in the picture, and then I lost weight. So I'm at a point to where I lost weight, and I have my confidence, you know, and everything else, and I put on a little dress and everything else. I thought I was cute and shared the picture with the guy. He's like, oh, you ain't been in the gym working your triceps.
See.
And you know, and I send the text message like, what you talking about? And then I get the text message back where he drew a picture, a circle in red of my tricep on there, and sent it back and said, don't act like you don't see that. And I was like,
reawakening.
You sure right. You know, and I was saying, like, well, show the picture to your friends. You know, everything else is what I'm thinking, because now I'm in defense and I'm finna come right back at you. You know, and it was like one of those things where you're like, well, I thought I had made it and I was feeling good, and then you find yourself like the next day looking in the mirror like, well, I guess maybe I do have a fly away. You know, everything, you start questioning yourself, and now you're back fighting that feeling again because you're like, well, I thought I was good, but now I still need some more work because I'm not there. And again, it's being based off of what somebody else is telling you what it's supposed to be. You know, and it's even too where then you start going out and you start looking at other people, and you're like, well, I don't look like her. You know, and with how social media is going right now and everything else, again, even when you're going to shop for clothes, I just want y'all to put a real model out there. Everybody, even if you're looking at the world today, most people are not a size 2.
No.
People are what y'all want to say is plus size, is normal. Sitting there, put some people in some 12s and the 14s and quit calling them plus size and misses and all this extra stuff. Give me a cute name too.
Or like that mannequin that I saw in the store where the guy had a big belly, the mannequin had a big belly. Like, It was a real life mannequin that had the shirt on and the beer belly was showing. I remember I took a picture of it and sent it to my daddy. I was like, see, this is realistic, you know.
Yeah, you need it, give realistic type things. Give
Right.
real
I
things.
like these actors and actresses. They put them I ain't saying, I'm talking about, you know, the ones that they put in these magazines and stuff like that. And they have these young girls or these young boys or just anybody looking at them, you know, like, no, you know, ones that you see a lot, and they're always Instagramming and stuff, and their face looks different or something. And you have these people, these young kids who want to look like them, and wow, look at them. And I feel like you post a picture with that makeup off. Because I've seen some pictures, and you look like not who you are. I wouldn't know who you were if I were without all that. And I saw it, I was like, you need that makeup.
But you know, it's the pressure to conform.
Yeah.
You know, I was just saying the other day that, you know, when I shot Lady Luck the sequel. And of course, in the first one, I was slim. I was like a 5'6". At the premiere, I wore an extra small jumper. You know, so I was small. By the time Lady Luck 2 came out, you know, and we shot that one, I was a thick girl. I was about $190. And I didn't, even though I knew it was getting towards the time to film, I didn't feel the pressure of, I gotta get this. And I remember I was telling him, I was like,
you gonna get ready to shoot. Man, I think I'm
drinking lemon water.
I think I did. Be like, what you want? Give me a pizza?
Yeah.
I'll be like, okay, I'll come home.
A whole pizza. And watching my 600-pound life.
Make me so mad with that. I would come home and I'd be like, yeah, okay, I made me something to eat. I'm gonna eat. And she got that box of pizza just sitting on the couch.
Watching the whole episode.
And I'd be like sitting there, I'd be like, man, I can't watch this anymore. You gotta turn it off.
But yeah, it was like, you know, I didn't feel, especially as actors, you know, being in the arts, you know, when you're in that field, you feel like you have to stay a certain size in order to be marketable, in order to have the look of, okay, we want you to be in this film and this, that, and the third. And I used to put a lot of pressure on myself. But now that I'm older, it's I mean, I get it, but I didn't feel the pressure to lose 60 pounds so I can look like the character Gabby in part 1. I was just like, well, if the script says it's 10 years later, guess what? Gabby has been through a lot in 10 years, and this is Gabby right here, okay? And so, but when you get on set and you see all the other actors and actresses that are prepared, you know, it's like they don't start themselves. And I was like, well, baby, this is it. And I was the lead, so, I mean, what you gonna say? Gabby, I'm just saying, I'm just being 100. It's like, you have to get to a point where you accept you for you.
Yes.
And it's like, you know, it doesn't matter how everybody else look at me, or, you know, you don't have to keep putting it out there. Like, I know I gained weight, because then it shows, okay, we see you're insecure about it. And so it was me letting them know, you ain't got to bring it up to me. I already know what I'm working with. I wake up with this every day, and I'm not gonna not eat on set. If I'm hungry, I'm gonna get a snack. You know, if whatever it is, it's like you have to accept you for you and be realistic about what you're looking at.
Yes.
One thing I want to say real quick that you just said, for people, you don't have to point it out.
Right.
Because I wake up to this every day. So it's not like I haven't already said to myself, okay, that, oh, I know I've gained weight. Or I know I have this flaw about myself or something else. I don't need you to point it out. Just like you don't want me to point out everything about you.
Right.
You know, again, and if you've already pointed it out the first time, I don't need you to point it out the second, third, the fourth, the fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth time. Every time I see you, oh, again, no, you saw me yesterday.
She's talking
I'm saying, you saw me yesterday. You don't have to tell me. You told me yesterday. I didn't lose weight between yesterday and today.
I think as a society, this point where I got to, when it comes to people and just dealing with people, I'm at the point, I don't care what you say. I know what I am, I know what I'm not, I know what I don't have, I know what I do have. And you ain't gotta like me. You don't have to think I'm cute. Well, I'm not for you.
But how did y'all get to that point? Because me, I know you feel the same way. You know, you ain't studying with folks. Even though she ain't saying it, I just know my friend. But how did you get to that point where you were just like, okay, forget what everybody else talking about. This is it. You know, this is my package deal. You either like it or love it. Because you know, it's some ladies watching that they're just like, I'm still struggling with that. You know, I still care about how people view me. I still care about when people point out my flaws. I still care about my insecurities in perspective to other people. How did you get to the point where you were just like, bump y'all, I don't care?
I think I always had a streak of I don't care. Just a little bit, the streak of it. But that's also a defense mechanism,
right?
Too.
Yeah.
You know, so when you set yourself up to say I don't care, then you also are not disappointed when you do care.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a little bit of that I don't care, bump y'all kind of mentality, you know, early on. But at the same time, I think that as I continue to progress and do, you know, different things or whatever, and I look back on just pictures in high school, because you know there are people who were voted most likely to succeed.
Right.
You had people who was like homecoming queen. You had all these people who were voted as a certain type or label, because we all have labels.
Yeah.
We all were given labels.
Yeah.
And so for me, you know, I wasn't necessarily labeled the pretty one, even though I knew I was ugly.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, what society calls pretty, you have to be a certain thing to be
Right.
labeled as the pretty one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I didn't have those types of most popular one, the pretty one, or whatever. But I was labeled the smart one. So you know, even though I may have had an insecurity with my weight, that was always the top one,
Mm-hmm.
and it shaped how I dealt with all my other insecurities. So yeah, I may have been, you know, labeled the smart one or what have you in my family, friends, whatever the case may be. But then that also made me hide behind other talents and other things that I could do.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well, I may not be able to do this over here, but I can read a book. I can know this. I can learn a weird fact that you'll never really know, you know, because I read it and you did, you know, that type of thing. Or other talents, like I knew that I could sing. You know, I knew I could do a little bit of something when it comes to the arts, but because of my insecurity with my weight or whatever, I didn't like people looking at me.
Mm-hmm.
So as a result, I didn't develop my voice. I didn't
Right.
do things to vocally develop. So I could be so much further and could probably do a whole lot more in that area if I didn't hide behind other things. So once I started looking back at stuff and pulling up them high school pictures and looking at people and looking at myself today, and then they commenting on my pictures, oh girl, I see you in Greece this week, you know, or commenting on, you know, what another accomplishment, or commenting on this or commenting on that. I'm like, ain't you the same one that was like the star athlete? Ain't you the same one that was most, you know, voted most likely to succeed or most popular or most this or most that? Aren't you the same one when we got to college, man? Like you ain't know.
Right.
Even though we was in band together all 4 years and traveled together, and then we get to college, you're like, you know, wow. So now you stalking my page.
Mm-hmm.
Now you commenting on everything I do. And then when I realized that people really do what they can to stay afloat, everybody at some point does what they can to stay afloat.
Yes.
I was like, man, it's too much pressure trying to live for y'all. I'm just gonna do me.
And you know what? And I want to point out that it's not just physicalities when it comes to insecurity.
No.
There are some people who are insecure about their intellect. There are some people who are insecure about the way they talk. There are some people insecure in ministry because they haven't really found their gift, or you know, they know they're gifted, they know they're chosen, they know God has called them out, and they got under ministries with other people or leaders who are insecure themselves and intimidated by who you are, you know, in your ministry, and so they belittle you and make you feel like you ain't really anointed. You know, you ain't no preacher, you ain't no prophet, you ain't this, you ain't that. You know, it's all insecurity transcends in every area. And so we don't want you to think that we're just being shallow and thinking about our appearance. We're just sharing our stories.
Because I am insecure in talking in front of people.
You are.
I am. Because I know for me, if I'm talking with you, I'm going to have a conversation with you. I'm going to give you me. And you know, sometimes, you know, depending on what setting you're in, you have to talk to people in a certain, everybody can't take that just blunt conversation.
Right.
And I'm a blunt person. So for me, it's like if I'm having a conversation with somebody, I'm being very blunt with them and they don't get it or they get offended, it makes me feel like I I'm not really talking right, or okay, I don't want to talk anymore.
Well, it depends on the route of your bluntness.
Yeah, no, what I mean by that, I mean as far as, prime example, we just had me talking about, I don't want to sugarcoat nothing, but you know, for some people it can come across the head.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm not gonna sugarcoat how I felt in that moment.
Right. Yeah.
So, you know, some people who may, you know, feel like, well, I could use this other way to say, you know, they would kind of belittle you because, well, you didn't say it the way I think I would, you know, and then sometimes it may be like, okay, well, then I don't want to talk in front of you. You know, so.
What are some other ways, Bridget, aside from physicalities, that you found yourself, you know, insecure in?
One of the most recent, I would say, even in prayer for me. My spiritual journey has really just started within the last 2 years, I want to say. I grew up in church, and I went to church. I didn't know about a relationship with Christ. So I'm finding that now. And a thing for me is praying. I can pray all day in my room. But when you want me to pray in front of other people that have been in ministry for years, you know, or, you know, can you lead this prayer thing? Can you do this? Go. And I really don't like talking in front of large groups. But I've had to learn to come out of that because that's actually my job sometimes. I have to do it, but it's like I got to hype myself up and act like I'm not terrified to get up here and do this. But it's the same thing even when I have to pray. And I mean, even praying with Zion, you know, and praying with another one of their prayer partners. I hated every bit of it because it's intimidating. You know, when you gotta pray with people who've been doing this, and then it's like, you know, that ain't it. You like, dang, well, what else is it? Well, how am I supposed to pray then? You know, everything is what you're thinking because you're frustrated. And then you begin to start comparing yourself to how they pray. And then too, when you're growing up in different, you want to say backgrounds, religious, we were Baptists, or Kojic. So it's like a whole nother G-code talk. You know, everything else, you know, where you go. So it's like, they like, oh, speak with the tongues of fire. You be like, tongues? What is that? Right.
Chanting to it, whatever it's called. I don't want to say chanting, but you know, y'all be on that whole other level of stuff, and I be like,
Well, I gotta be chanting, though.
you know where it's
No, we're not chanting. Okay, we're not witches.
No,
You know,
You know, we're not a cult.
it's not.
it's different.
It's different.
Yeah.
And if that's something that you weren't raised in, you know, before, because we weren't, again, you've heard, you know, of it, but I have never seen anybody do that.
Right.
You know, and we weren't taught about that. So it's like when you hear it and then you sit here like, well, I don't do that.
Right.
You know, and it's influence.
But you know what? It's not just people who weren't raised in Kojic or, you know, things like that. I was raised, you know, that was me my whole life. And, you know, there were some insecurities when it came to ministry. Because, you know, I was just known as the funny one, you know, Zion, you a little missionary, and this, that, and the third. So I just accepted that, you know, I'm not going to be somebody, you know, great in ministry. I'm just going to be this little missionary, and I can make people laugh, and that was it. And so, of course, when God really started dealing with me, I mean, through dreams, I mean, I realized now that I know I'm a prophet, I realized, okay, this has been there all along. You know, but I didn't realize it, and I didn't have anybody there to cultivate that until I got older. But what I'm saying is, you know, you look around and you look at other people's picks, whether it's your family pick, whether it's your pastor's pick, you know, and you're put to the background like, oh, you just this, you know, and it's like, oh, okay. And so when I start coming into my own, when God started calling me out, even in prayer, you know, of course I grew up around prayer warriors. I always had examples of that. But when the Lord called me and was like, you gonna be a prayer warrior, I was like, no, I'm just here so I won't go to jail. Okay, that is my whole purpose of coming to noonday prayer, is because I got a whole bunch of hell at the house and I'm trying not to get locked up again. So it was like, out of that situation is where God drew me. And so I started to learn who I was, and that's when, you know, I learned, okay, you are a prophet. It's not that you just have these kind of dreams or you say things and it comes to pass. Then I had leaders who recognized what was in me, what God put in me before I recognized it myself. And so they were there to cultivate that, to nurture that, to pour into me, to teach me, to guide me, and all those things. But even then, it was like, well, I'm not them. You know, and people would let you know. You know, when I start saying, oh, I'm a prayer warrior, I know God, I know I'm a prophet. You're a prophet. Who told you that? You get what I'm saying? So it creates insecurity. You're like, well, Lord, I know what you showed me, and I know what I prayed, and I know what I dreamed, and I know what you revealed, and I've heard the testimonies and this and but you begin to question yourself because of what other people projected on you. And what I learned now that is years later and I'm developed, you know, and God, of course, God is still forever developing you. But when I matured in my gift, when I matured in my office, when I matured in my calling, when I matured in the anointing, when I matured in ministry, and I accepted all of who I was, and it's like nobody can come and tell me, oh, you ain't this, oh, you ain't that, you know, you shut that down. Once I realized that, I started seeing that these same people who were saying, you ain't this, you ain't that, it was intimidation, it was envy. It was like, how you gonna surpass me? You know, God used me. Well, guess what? You forfeited. So he put that mantle on somebody else and I ran with it. And so you start seeing that other people are, again, projecting their own insecurities on you. And you picking that up, and then there are still situations where it come along where God will give you a word, and people will bold face in your face, lie, that ain't the Lord, and you'll start to feel insecure all over again. Like, man, God, maybe I got it wrong. And then you know when you see the stuff come to pass, you're like, okay, now wait a minute, you know. So it's like that's what I'm saying. Insecurity. It rears its head in every single area of your life, even in the corporate world. You know, when you feel like, man, I know I'm the person for the job. They keep overlooking me. I have the degree. I have the experience. I taught them, but they keep, you know, picking somebody else. That can create insecurity. You'll start questioning yourself like, maybe I'm not the man or woman for the job. Maybe they were smarter. Maybe they are more educated. And it's like, I wanted to talk about this because it is so true that people are sitting on insecurities and they're not addressing them, they're not facing them, they're not being realistic about it because we live in such a society where we want to dress up everything. Everything is a facade and you got it all together. You post those pictures on Instagram and social media and Facebook, and you do your channel and you go live, ha ha ha. You know, this is who I am. And it's like when you shut that all down, like Simone said, you look like somebody we don't even recognize.
I think too, a lot of times why people don't want to look in the mirror or admit it is because it's seen as weakness.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to admit that they're weak.
Yeah.
You know, and you really do have to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know, at a point and say, okay, I am insecure about this. And sometimes you gotta seek professional help, you know, to get it depending on what it is.
And it actually makes you stronger.
Yeah. Once you're able to admit it, you know, you say, okay.
But to even admit it, you should look at yourself as strong. Because there's a lot of people walking around here with insecurities that don't even want to deal with them. Nothing. I said I was that one. And to be able to say, hey, I have an issue. That takes a lot of strength to do that.
Yeah, and you know what? People will envy that strength.
Yes.
You know, because you'll meet people that's 20, 30 years older than you, and they're looking at you and they're like, you got it. You know, I wish I had got it, you know, at that age. And instead of them just saying, man, you know, I regret this, I regret that, I'm proud of you, man, stay the course, I wish I had done this. They belittle you, they put you down, they slander you, they talk about you, and they say you ain't nothing, and they demonic, and she's a witch, she's a Jezebel, she's that. And it's because you have revealed in your confidence and walking in your truth, you have shown them their frailty. And I know Mia has dealt with that, you know, I'm not throwing you out there, I mean, I just know. But it's like all of us have dealt with that in some, I know you dealing with it, you know, in your personal life, you've dealt with it in your personal life. And so I know there are some ladies and men who are watching, you're like, man, you're so right. Now I'm rethinking some things that I feel insecure about, and I'm like, I didn't put this on myself, somebody else did. And now that I'm listening to y'all, I'm like, okay, you put this on me because this is really your emotion. Yeah. It has absolutely nothing to do with me. And I mean, I experienced that recently, you know, where somebody was literally trying to project their feelings on me, and Bridget was just standing there like, what is wrong with her? And I was just like, yo, bruh, you need to remember, what is like no matter what you say or how much you explain, people will still, you know, they're set on thinking one way, and you just gotta let them have it, you know, and go and live your life in peace and do you.
This is my aha moment that I was when I told you I started transitioning to doing my own business instead of working, instead of corporate stuff, and just always dealing with people telling me, why are you doing that? You can't do that. And making you feel like, maybe I shouldn't be doing it. Let me go back and get a job. And I like what you said, you have to have a relationship with God. Whatever purpose, I'm just real strong believer on, we are just not put here just to be here.
Right.
You weren't put here just to be Bridget. You weren't put here just to be Zonia. We are put here for a purpose, and that is God's purpose.
Right.
We have a mission to complete. However long we are here, whatever it is we're here to complete, we're here to complete it. So anybody else that is standing in my way of my purpose, I don't have time to deal with you because I'm supposed to be completing something for God. So that's what made me really look at, like, even trying to pursue all of this. You know, it's just been, God put this on my heart for a reason. I'm supposed to be doing this because there's something coming out of it to where He needs to use me. So let me really get on this. So whatever way I feel that I can't do, whoever telling me I don't have time to listen to that.
Right.
Because God has put something in me that I'm supposed to be doing. So let me focus on this. Everybody else, you are irrelevant.
So before we wrap up the conversation, ladies, I just really quick, I want you all to give a word of advice or a hope or a strategy or a step. Just, I'm talking about really quick, to the people that's watching, that's saying, you know what, I'm there. You know, I'm the one that's afraid to look in the mirror. I don't want to face my insecurities. What would you tell them to help them overcome and get to a healthy place where we are?
First step, take a look in the mirror.
Yeah.
It's one, admitting you have the issue, and then going forward to fix that issue, and even surrounding yourself with positive things.
Yeah.
Don't feed yourself the negativity, feed yourself the positive things.
Mia?
I would say face the fear and do it anyway. I mean, you know, even though it's a scary thing when you're moving in a new area or when you're addressing things that may be uncomfortable or painful or what have you, it's a fearful thing. So you face the fear, you do it anyway, and you. One of the things I always tell people is never let anybody else's voice be louder in your head than your own.
Yeah.
If somebody's voice is loud in your head, telling you can't do this, you not this, or whatever, their voice is way too loud. So you turn that volume all the way down. And for some people, it needs to be cut off. That means they need to be completely out of your ear.
Yeah.
So just never let anybody else's voice be louder in your head than your own. And ultimately, you should also be listening for God's voice. So your voice, God's voice. And then of course God will at that point send entrusted counsel to you so that you know you can get the type of advice that you need.
Yeah. Simone?
I would say the same thing that Miss Mia said. She summed it all up. But at the same time, I also think, like, one thing that I'm doing now, replace all of those negative thoughts, negative words that you may have grown up with or you tell yourself. And every day I've been saying I have to at least say 5 to 10 things good about myself. I don't care what it is, for the next 30 days. Everything that I said I can't, I have to replace it with I can. Anything there's no don't. I'm even doing it with Austin right now. He's always talking about, Mommy, you can't. And I tell him, we don't say I can't right now. Try it. We say we're gonna try, we will. So start putting more positive things in your life. Say more positive things. Listen to more positive things. One thing I always listen to every morning now is what is it? T.D. Jakes, his inspirational little 15-minute or 20-minute speeches. Go in there and start the motivational ones. Every morning, that's how I start my morning out. Something to motivate me. Keep going to why you're trying to do something. And just everything positive. Like she said, anything somebody come with negativity, shut them out.
I would just leave with this. Look to Jesus. Open the word, and whatever is said or whatever insecurity is there, line it up with the word. If it don't line up, then you know it's the enemy. Throw it out, and then go and find some scriptures that line up with what God says about you. And like Simone said, quote those things. Let those be your words of affirmation. You know, when you hear a voice that's louder than yours or the Spirit of the Lord, the Holy Spirit, then you know what? Throw that voice out and go get you a scripture and replay that. So that way when those emotions come up, you have enough word in you that you can say, no. I take that thought into captivity right now in the name of Jesus. And I'm going to replace it with this scripture, what God says about me. And the more you make that habitual, the more it becomes a lifestyle, the more you believe it. So I pray that everything that we have said tonight, that it is encouraging, that it uplifted you, that it caused you to have the courage and the bravery and the boldness to look in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm going to face this thing. Whether I'm afraid or not, I'm going to go full throttle. I'm going to accept it, but that don't mean I have to keep it. I'm going to accept what I see. I'm going to accept what I heard. I'm going to accept how I feel. Now I'm going to deal with it, and I'm going to overcome. So I'm so glad that you ladies joined me this Friday night for Girl Talk, and we had the discussion. And I said every week, thank you for being so naked and transparent and being honest, because I know there are some people that's watching, some other young ladies and young men who are watching, and they're just like, I'm there. You know, I'm 60 and I'm looking at these young women and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be envious. I don't want to be jealous. I don't want to covet. You know, I want to encourage them. I want to push them. And then I'm going to turn around and I'm going to get back up on the saddle, because if I'm still here, I have purpose. So I pray this bless you all. Listen, every Friday, y'all know we here, Girl Talk. So, you know, next Friday, we have another hot episode that's coming, another topic that is going to be just so good. And I'm gonna have my girls here with me, and we're gonna be talking about it, where we keep it real and we keep it raw and we keep it classy. So y'all make sure y'all join us next week. Look, have a happy, I was gonna say a happy Christmas, a happy what is this, weekend. Have a merry weekend. Y'all be safe. God bless you. We love you all. Join us next week. See you later.
Day and night, I'm so blessed. I can move everybody part with no stress. When they see me, man, they say they want a contest. Yeah, I'm talking negative and envy, I put it to rest. Cause I'm headstrong, I got my mind back. And if you really want yours, you can get it back. Some people thinking, some people wishing. A new creation, that mellow, we keep it pushing. I got you moving with no stopping. Congratulations, thank you haters, cause I know you're watching. And if you think it's over, then haha, I'm laughing. Take a picture of the beginning, we pushing. Get your minds, get your